Hi everybody, my name is Lee Martins and this is my presentation on legal aspects of teacher evaluation. The purpose of evaluation program is to help rate teachers on their performance in the classroom. The data that's collected from an observation is supposed to drive your professional development and help support teachers in meeting the needs of their students and to ultimately have positive student outcomes and learning in their classroom for that year. So what's the big issue? About in the 1990s, there was several advocacy groups that actually looked at the yearly data at schools and noticed a huge discrepancy between student performance. However, according to the research, 99% of those teachers were satisfactory. However, those test scores did not support that. So I can see them thinking, how are you satisfactory, but your kids didn't learn, when over here they're satisfactory and they did. So what was the big issue there? They also noticed that hardly any tenured teachers were ever fired, and they noticed that there's a difference in teacher quality. So the advocacy groups wanted reform. They wanted better teacher quality. They wanted policymakers to change evaluation laws, and they wanted to dismiss poorly performing teachers. So they know what they wanted, so here's what the first step was. The federal government in 2009 gave a bunch of money to the American Reinvestment and Recovery Act to start that race to the top competition. Basically, it was supposed to be a big motivator for schools to jump on board with changing policy for evaluations on teachers and to focus on student achievement as part of the evaluation process. It sounds all in all like a good idea, but with that came some problems. On top of just the government being involved with this, a lot of other private sectors were too, giving money to teachers and school districts that were high performing based on their evaluation needs as well. So what was the problem? The policy they wanted to implement focused on that student achievement within the evaluation model, and a lot of districts put a lot of heavy-weighted decisions on that progress. So with that added pressure of student performance, teachers are getting weird about it. They stray from that good quality instruction to teaching to the test so that those test results will be there. So we're moving away from our quality instruction and drill and kill and drill. So there are also inconsistencies among what a proficient teacher would be. So if I was a proficient teacher in Kansas, based on this criteria, maybe in Colorado I wouldn't be, or even in the district next to me. So it was very wishy-washy depending on where you were at. With the new change, reform, and evaluation, the new focus was on getting more observations, teaching to the standards, a nice framework for teaching, and student test scores. Again, this was the federal initiative, and they called this the value-added model. And the basic intent of the VAM was to eliminate a bias from your supervisor, whoever was observing you. For instance, if you were a really good, close relationship with your principal, and yeah, they saw ineffective teaching, but they kind of kept saying you were satisfactory, those test scores would take you down a notch, and they would really reveal that maybe you weren't so great. So, which makes sense. However, unions did not like that. So the NEA and the AFT, they still continue to push for new policy and revisions that better fit teacher rights. Overall, the NEA and the AFT do not like that test scores are tied to evaluations. They're against being tied to the compensation or tenure. They push for better evaluation procedures and promote teacher improvement. They are against that value-added model because it's unfair. Some populations, you've got your low SES, you have your kids in poverty and trauma are going to test differently than your more affluent areas. So it's just not fair. And then think about the teachers that do not teach reading, math, or science, the tested curriculum. They are being judged on other students' test scores of the content they're not even teaching. So it is very unfair, and that's why they are pretty much against the VAM model. So, surprise, the ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act, ended the federal government's involvement in influencing the teacher evaluation process. So basically, they did not mandate that it was a requirement that student outcome was involved in your teacher evaluation, mainly involved. So it is still very prevalent in knowing if you are meeting your needs of your kids or not. However, it's not as weighted, and there's more to the picture now. Because of this, school districts now had permission to redesign their own evaluation system and give it to the U.S. Department of Education. And this system allowed them to include observations, include student performance, but also have other means of judging a teacher's competency, not just solely based on those student scores. One of the legal cases that I read about today was very interesting to me. It was the Luff versus the Clark County School District in Nevada. Basically, some tenured teachers were fired after having 2 consecutive ineffective evaluation ratings. However, you think that would be fair because if it's been 2 years now and you're still ineffective, they were not given their due process hearing. And so it was argued, their case was that their contractual rights were not honored, and termination can only happen after that due process has been fulfilled. So with the website that we were given in the article, it said it was still in process, but considering it was in 2011, I was hoping there was more. So with further digging, I actually found that on September 30th, it actually went to trial. I wonder if I can move my deal here. I'll read it to you. But basically, the plaintiffs, it was ruled in favor of the plaintiffs. And most of those legal cases that we read about today, the states basically won. But this actually made me feel a lot better because I just wrote a paper about how I did not agree with tenure and I agree with due process. And this kind of validates that because due process was not met and it went to the courts and the plaintiffs were honored. So basically they were asked to be reinstated to post-probationary, as a post-probationary teacher in the district with the back pay. And I believe it was with 3 years of back pay or something like that. But I saw in October that they met to discuss how much money they would get, and I have not been able to find out how much money they got. I was really interested in that. So due process is a thing, and it has to be honored. And I'm really glad that these people got what they needed. Now, if they were ineffective or not, I wonder what the evaluator was thinking at the time. What was their, I guess, reasoning for doing that and not honoring the due process? So I'd really like to hear the typed out notes on that one. But anyway, legal cases and evaluation are a real thing, and it is very important that all building administrators, principals follow the books. In my school district at Overland Park Elementary, we have the Kansas Educator Evaluation Protocol. It's called the KEEP. We've only had it for a couple of years now, but basically if you're a new teacher, you get evaluated twice a year, once per semester. 3rd to 4th year teachers, you get 1 a year, and then every 5th year and beyond, you get 1 observation every 3 years. So with this system, it is no longer paper pencil like our old system was, but we have an online platform that we have to upload artifacts, goals, professional development. We have notes from our administrator over our evaluations, and we also have reflection pieces as well. Basically, it's an online portfolio that we use to prove that we're good teachers. So we go through the basic framework model. We have our pre-observation, and our Shawnee Mission School District provides specific templates that we are required to fill out. We have our observation by our principal, our post-observation, which we speak together and get constructive feedback from our principal. We upload all the artifacts, student data, anything that we need to prove that we are meeting our goals that we have set. And then we have a reflection piece, which is basically how did I feel the evaluation process went, as well as my principal. If I ever feel that an evaluation is unfair, I can file a grievance with the district office, and they follow up with their outside evaluation. They do an investigation. They would come in and do the same thing that my principal did to see if there is a bias involved or if I have a case behind me. Also, if you're an NEA member in Kansas, you have those legal services provided and you have more support on your side, and to assure that due process is being followed. After learning more about the evaluation process, kind of where we've been and how we've evolved, and being a teacher currently in the evaluation process, I really am understanding the importance of it. To be honest, as a teacher, it was like the one more thing, and I have to actually write out a lesson for my boss today. But in all reality, I am now gleaning the importance of it, and I kind of wish our process in my building as of right now was a little more meaningful for me. I don't feel like the feedback is there. I would really rather have something to go off of. So I'm going to maybe start taking more charge of my personal evaluations to see if I can't get that constructive feedback. That would be helpful. As a building principal, I would definitely have to stay on top of all the legal policy involving education in general, and being very knowledgeable of the negotiated contracts, making sure I'm not infringing on any of those issues, and being fair to all my employees. All my evaluations, I'm going to do it by the book. I will not mess it up. I want to make sure that I am not breaking protocol, if you will, and giving any teachers just cause to bring me up in a due process issue or anything. And if I do have a staff member that I need to possibly put on an extra cycle of eval because of lack of efficiency, I'm going to be talking to every supervisor I have and getting advice from my district and having basically the blessings from the people above me, making sure I'm doing exactly what I'm doing to the book and making sure I'm following those contractual laws, as they're very important. So I'm going to be asking for a lot of help. So just like a new teacher needs a mentor, I'm hoping I get one as a principal someday and can help me go through these processes. So very important stuff, and I am very excited that I know more about the legal side of things. So thanks for watching my presentation. Bye.